What if I told you that there are epic food stories that often go untold? Join your host, Seth, as he dives into the thrilling world of food challenges and competitive eating, interviewing those who not only take them on, but create them. Buckle up for the heart-pounding moments, behind-the-scenes experiences, and the passion fueling it all. This is Food Challenge News.
Welcome back to the Food Challenge News Podcast. I'm your host, Seth, and today I'm joined by George, the Smorgasbord Chiger. How are you doing today, George?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So you're currently on a multi-day food tour. Can you explain what the tour is about and what you hope to achieve from it?
The main part of the tour is I'm actually driving from Pennsylvania, the East Coast, to Wyoming to work with a new sponsor. And like anything I do in this crazy world of competitive eating, if I'm driving to a contest or to work with a new sponsor, I'll eat my way there and I eat my way home, right? So, I have to be in Wyoming on Monday. So I left Pennsylvania on Friday, and on my way out, I've been hitting food, challenges. So, I crushed one yesterday in Ohio. I got another one in Missouri today. And tomorrow, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a food challenge. I was looking, but I don't have nothing lined up. So I kind of just fly, by the seat of my pants to find the challenges as I'm driving. I'll zigzag out of my way to, go to a decent challenge. But what I'm looking to do is we're scheduled to be in Wyoming with Double Dubs. It's a food truck company. They're franchising all over the world, but they have trucks all over the country currently. And they serve wings and tater tots. And that's their specialty. And that's the only thing that they serve on the trucks. But they go to different breweries. And I'm scheduled to be at 8 different breweries, 8 different days all over Wyoming, Colorado. And we're going to do pint races. If you could beat me chugging a pint, you're going to win a dozen wings or, your choice of some other stuff, I guess. My goal is to bring awareness to small business and my partners and sponsors all over the country, just by getting the conversation started. So, we're going to do meet and greets. I'm going to work on the food trucks with the guys, learn the business. And then, when we wrap up this little tour in Wyoming, I'm going to, I'm scheduled to shoot down to Arizona, have Thanksgiving with a friend of mine. And then we're back in Indianapolis for the Big Ten playoff game to crush some wings this year. The last 10 years, it's been sponsored by St. Elmo Steakhouse, and it's the shrimp cocktail eating contest that I've competed in a handful of times. But they have stepped down as the sponsor after 10 years, and now we have a new sponsor, which I'm really bad with names, so I haven't learned it yet, but we're eating wings at the Big Ten playoff game, and that's December 6th. It's exciting to, have a new sponsor. It's always a good time out there at I guess they call it a street party or a block party prior to the playoff game. And it's fun. So it's kind of like this epic road trip. So far I'm, 1,300 miles in the last day and a half. And I have another like 800 miles to go before I'm kind of like settled in for a couple weeks. And I don't know. I just, get the conversation started. That's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, sounds like a great time. And we actually just got back from Charleston, South Carolina last month. We did a mini restaurant spotlight tour and ate at some great places. And it was beautiful down there. And we also love food and traveling. And yeah, sounds like you're already having a great time. It sounds like it'll be a great time after that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's nonstop. I'm living the dream. Food is my business and business is good.
So how did your competitive eating journey originally begin?
This is crazy. I'm paying the cable bill and there's a woman in front of me, purple hair, yoga pants, bebopping around, high on life, just the biggest personality that you could ever imagine in the cable office as we're paying our cable bill. And she's like, I ate 15 hot dogs and buns and I'm going back to Coney Island. And I kind of chuckled. And she turned around and looked at me. She's like, big boy, I could eat more food than you. And I'm like, lady, you're crazy. And she's like, no, I'm just happy. You should come to the gym and train with me. And I'm like, no, that's okay. But I kept running into her around town, and she finally talked me into going to the gym and doing a hot dog run with her for Nathan's to practice, to push her. And I became her sparring partner for years. And then she finally talked me into going to a qualifier in 2015, and I got hooked. I went on stage. Actually, before I went on stage, I'm in line, knowing nothing about the lead up or whatever. They're just like, oh yeah, get in line, blah, blah, blah. George is going to announce to you. And, George starts talking about this guy that works at the mall part-time at Build-A-Bear, Salad Works. You can find him in the food court over at, Casual Mel, XL. He's all over the place. And I'm like, all right, this guy sounds pretty cool. And he's like, George Chiger from Pocono Pines. I'm like, oh, that's me. And I run out, and I had a bunch of friends in the crowd. This was a local qualifier at Pocono Raceway. That's where I grew up, just, a couple miles from the track. And I went up. I took second place with like 17 hot dogs and buns. And George is like, this is the future of competitive eating. And when I walked off stage, Badlands Booker was there. And he's like, you need to hang out with us and work on your technique. And you could be one of the top eaters in the world. And that was 10 years ago. And now here I am, right? I went pro in 2018 when I first qualified to go to Coney, and I've been going ever since.
That's very interesting, and it sounds like that chance encounter just kind of led you right into it, and sounds like you were hooked from there.
100%. Yeah, I just, it changed. Walking out on stage, the hype. I'm having like the number one hype man in the world pumping me up to go out on stage, having friends in the crowd. It just changed my life from there on out. I wouldn't even, I wouldn't change anything about it. Just not looking back, just moving forward.
You're known for eating a large variety of foods, so how did you get the name of the Smorgasbord? Is that what it has to do with, that you'll eat anything?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, one of my good friends, we were sitting around, and he, we're like, everyone has nicknames and this and that. And he's like, man, you eat everything. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why not the Smorgasbord? And I'm like, I like it. And it stuck. George likes to call me, the Red Horse of Death when he does my intros and stuff, because I'm the heel. But, I'm known as the Smorgasbord because I go around and I eat everything. There isn't really anything I don't eat. I'm not a huge fan of spicy food, but I don't turn it down if there's money involved for challenges.
We've already talked a little bit about how you got involved with Major League Eating. So you're currently ranked number 15 in the world by Major League Eating. What are some of the strategies that have helped you in the eating world and kind of get to where you are today?
Oh boy. Well, I guess, running into my mentor, Laurel, and training with her, really got me involved with the Major League Eating because of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And you really have to, like any sport, you have to train, you have to work on technique, you have to work on your capacity. 10 minutes, it's doesn't sound like a long time, but imagine running the 100-yard dash for 10 minutes, right? Like, so it's a sprint the whole 10 minutes. Some of our contests are 8 minutes, some of them are 12 minutes, right? So it's you just have to condition yourself, work on your breathing, mental capacity. I think it's more mental than physical sometimes, pushing your body to the limits, because your whole life you were taught to chew your food and swallow and just chew and chew and chew. But, in competitive eating, if you're chewing, you're losing, right? So, you want to take the largest bite you can and swallow it whole, but you have to know your body. And, with the different conditions of food, some are technique, some are capacity, some are technique and capacity. And so you really have to work on each individual food as an individual, your techniques, your capacity, so forth and so on.
You ever come close to choking?
Sure, yeah, we choke all the time. I never had to have assistance with it, but you do choke. Things go down the wrong way. We were out in the Twin Cities there for a rib eating contest, and I was choking on the riblets. I had to take a step back for like 2-3 minutes, clear myself. And it's amazing what your body could do. And when you're trying to eat fast, I've had a lot of different things come out of my nose. And it's a struggle. You really just have to take a moment, not panic, and move on.
Yeah, it sounds like that'd be really important, is to just staying in the moment but not panicking.
Right. Yeah. You have time, right? So, and if you could breathe, if you could cough, you're not 100% blocked, right? And the biggest thing, you can't panic. Heavy D, we were doing a food challenge in his house. We were eating Panda Express trays of fried rice. And I don't know if he was exactly choking, but it's hard to explain. But sometimes it's like you get a vapor lock in the back of your throat. And I've learned this as a competitive eater, because you're just consuming so much food. But you could panic. You could get, it scares you because nothing wants to work, nothing's going down. And, there's a video of us eating together, and I'm just like, hey, take a minute, calm down, relax. Just, don't panic. You'll get through this. And, he credits me for helping him, saving him, I guess, because he was really panicked at the moment that it happened. But, I would say every time we're at the table, there's the possibility. I always recommend you have to have, paramedics on standby and somebody that knows the Heimlich maneuver, just because how dangerous the sport is.
And in February of 2021, you took down 2 8-ounce cans of spray cheese in just 59 seconds. And it sounds easy enough, but what was an unexpected obstacle on that cheesy adventure?
That's another event. We trained for it, right? And I practiced, and I guess maybe the speed, I didn't think I was going to be able to pull it off, because, my competitor I was going against, he's like, oh, I'm going to, eat 2 cans at once. And my response was, well, you got to hold your breath for 30 seconds then, because we knew the cans took about 30 seconds to empty. And I just, went consistently 1 can and pouring water simultaneously at a time, and I pulled it off. I'd eat it. I didn't expect to win. I was just happy to be a part of the whole event for the Super Bowl. Once again, once in a lifetime opportunity that I wouldn't say no to. I would do it again, all over again, if I got the phone call to go to Florida and chug Easy Cheese.
Do you like it outside of competition, like the easy cheese?
I can't say I've probably even ever had it since. But I remember growing up having it. You're somewhere and you got cheese and crackers or whatever. So I know I've had it a few times in my life, but it's not a go-to processed spray cheese isn't my thing. I'm more into real cheese, so forth and so on.
Yeah, I actually just ate some recently. I hadn't had it in years, and it was a nice, like, nostalgia food. But I usually don't eat it for like a long time. It'll always be there. So, but like you said, I like the real cheese too.
Yeah, there's so much better, so many, better cheeses out there than Easy Cheese to feed your palate with.
Well, while we're on the subject of cheese, what's your favorite cheese of all time? I got to put you on the spot a little bit now.
Okay, well, I'm a Munster. I really like a good Munster cheese. Oh, it was one of my father's favorite cheeses, I guess. So when we had it in the house, we were able to, have a slice or two, but it wasn't ours really to go to, because it was my dad's. But I do enjoy that cheese. It's a little stinky, but it has a good flavor to it.
I love that one. I love Swiss, provolone.
There is so many. Michelle Lesko is a great eater, and when we're out exploring different cities, we always hit the cheese shops, and she's really taught me some things about cheese over the years. So it's there's so many good things out there in life. And and when I was a kid, I was very picky about what I ate, and now it's like I'm willing to try anything and everything, because I've learned that your taste changes in life, and as you get older, you can afford better food, and there's some really good things out there. So I never want to say no to anything. I'll say yes least once, maybe twice if I think I like it, just to be able to move forward and say, hey, I did that or tried that. Or I'm on this tour and everyone's like, oh, Rocky Mountain oysters, are you going to do it? And I'm like, well, I guess if I have an opportunity, I'm not going to say no, but we'll see if it happens.
And it'd be in line with your name, the Smorgasbord.
100%, right? Like, I mean, it just, I eat everything. I don't really turn anything down. So the name definitely fits. I'm honored that my buddy Zach came up with it. I had some other friends come up with some, George the Mustard Chiger, because at that time, really getting into hot dog practice, I consume a lot of hot dogs every year, but I'm like, I knew I'm more than just hot dogs, right? So the smorgasbord really clicked.
Since you mentioned hot dogs, I'd like to talk to you about your current personal best in MLE. It's 32.5 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. How often do you train with hot dogs, like for an upcoming contest? And do you find it getting harder each year that you compete?
So Laurel, when I met my mentor, this is what she got me into is hot dog season. We start training the first week of April, and hot dog season runs through July 4th. And we get together once a week, minimum. We order up, how many hot dogs we think we're going to be able to eat and consume and push. We work on our techniques. We work on, our style. And, I've been training at the same hot dog trailer for 8-9 years now, Sherry's place there in the Poconos. And, in the beginning, they would make us the perfect hot dog. And I said, wow, these go down so easy. My numbers are big. At one point, I've done 40 plus hot dogs in practice, but I explained to them, I said, I don't need the perfect hot dog. I need the worst possible hot dog that could be served. Overcooked, undercooked, raw, cold, super hot, super chilled, stale buns, whatever you got, throw it at me. Because, learning, going to these different qualifiers all over the country, none of them are prepared the same. You go to a smoke festival, sometimes the hot dogs are smoked. You go to a racetrack, sometimes they're boiled. You don't get the perfect Nathan's dogs like you do on 4th of July. And we also, train, in the Poconos from April to July. So it could rain, it could be snowing, it could be 110 degrees out. So we train in all different, elements and conditions to push ourselves because, the day of the big show, you don't know what you're going to get. So I average about 500 hot dogs. As I like to say, I take about 500 wieners to the face in 3 months every year. And that's really about the only time I eat hot dogs is from April to July during hot dog season. And it's very rare if I really have them any other time in the year at this point because of the quantity of Nathan's Famous hot dogs that I consume.
Yeah, that's super interesting that you bring that up because I've always wondered about that with different hot dog eating contests or just even different foods for different contests that they can be prepared differently or like you said, weather can be a factor. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Weather it plays a lot with it, right? Like, room, a lot of our food we eat is room temperature. So, when it's 30 degrees out, our food really turns, it's 30 degrees. When it's 110 out, our food's 110. So that has a lot to do with the quantity, the speed, etc. Like, this year at Coney, it wasn't so humid, but it was hot and the buns were slow and the numbers were low for everybody across the board. The buns weren't fast at all this year. They've been faster in the past.
Moving on to hobbies and behind the scenes, what are some hobbies that you enjoy when you aren't smashing food?
Well, I mean, snowboarding, fishing, traveling. I love to travel, so it's really, my job now and the sport is kind of a hobby that's just turned into more of a full-time thing. So, but just being adventurous and getting out and doing, more things in life and seeing more places.
Well, and a lot of times you'll also have a cigar under your hat too. Are you passionate about cigars as well?
Yes, I am very passionate about cigars. I'm kind of spoiled. I have a cigar sponsor, Protocol Cigars. I've been working with them since 2020, and I became, more of I think family, with the owner Kevin and I, every year they have a big party in the summertime that they invite me to, and I'm just very fortunate that they've been a supporter of mine. I'm a supporter of theirs, and I guess you could consider cigars a hobby, right? Whiskey, cigars, drinking some beer here and there. So enjoying the finer things in life, like good cheese.
That's always important.
Yes.
But would you like to shout out any of your other sponsors as well?
The chickendippers.com, Kyle, I've been working with them since 2020. It's the only ramen kit in the world to dip your chicken wings in. Our slogan is don't just dip the tip. It's changing the world of wing eating. Of course, my newest sponsor on board is Double Dubs out of Wyoming. Food trucks, shout out to those guys. I've been trying to work with them for years, and finally we've connected, and it's happening this week. What else? Who else we got? We got Sherry's Place. We got Nick's Big Belly Deli in the Poconos. Caddy Corner Neighborhood Pub and Pie. I've been working with for years. Internet .net has been a sponsor of mine. And it's just great, to be able to work with everybody. And I'm very supportive of, of course, my fans that have, reached out and helped me over the years, just to get me to contests, let me borrow cars or pay for a tank of gas here and there. And now the larger mom and pop restaurants that I'm working with all over the country, helping me get to the next place, to the next event, and, do these epic road trips. And of course, my lover, Nicole, she's, I think my number one sponsor that's allowing me to, help me, support me, and stand next to me as I, take this wild journey in life with me. So I'm so happy that she's with me.
Well said. And as far as sponsorships go, do they reach out to you or do you reach out to them, or is it kind of like both?
It's kind of like a 50-50 thing. I'm always, trying to get the conversation started with anybody and everybody that I'm interested in working with, or like, that I see something, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Like, because I get to pick and choose. And if I don't see it happening, I'm like, okay, but sometimes I pursue stuff and sometimes people pursue me, and I've been pursued by some companies and it's just not going to work. I don't see it matching. So unfortunately, sometimes I have to, turn down the opportunities. But, for the most part, we click and get to work together and, get the conversation started. And sometimes it doesn't work out and sometimes it does.
And you'll also take on food challenges occasionally. Do you consider this a hobby compared to, like doing competitive eating full time for your content style?
I'm trying to, like, over the years, I kind of slacked on some of my content. I have a lot of content in the cloud that I need to get out there. And of course, I'm filming every day to get new content out to my fans. So, the food challenges, I don't know if it's necessarily a hobby. I think it's a part of the business, because I use the money to get to the next contest, or, to help me train, keep my capacity going, my stretch. I don't necessarily work on my speed with the content and stuff, because of, the dangerous parts of it. And of course, you don't want to be, a complete animal, in a restaurant. You try to be somewhat respectful to the establishment, the customers around you. So I think it's part of the business. I think it just goes kind of hand on hand, that, competitive eating and food challenges.
In a lot of your videos, challenges, contests, you will wear purple gloves. So what's the reason that you use them, and do they help you at all?
Oh, of course they help. So my mentor got me into it because, like, when we first started training, we were training at a hot dog trailer in a Salvation Army parking lot, right? So there's no restrooms, there's no running water, and you get a little messy. But, I've stuck with that, that she showed me, like, hey, wear rubber gloves. It's easy to clean up. I travel, we do so many different events. Sometimes they're in cornfields, or, even, Wing Fest, we had porta potties, at some of these contests. So there's really no place to clean up. And for example, I remember coming home from my first Wing Fest in Buffalo in 2018, and Darren Eats all the way home, he's driving and he keeps smelling his hands. He's like, all I could smell is that hot sauce from the wings. And we washed up and stuff, but still, like you get stained. Or Jeff Esper, when he's done eating, it looks like he's murdered somebody because he likes his red Kool-Aid, and he's red up to his elbows, stained. So it's just kind of became a signature thing, the gloves, with my mentor, and it's a really easy cleanup. I enjoy it. It's part of my persona now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always wondered about that because I know some challengers and competitive eaters will use gloves and then others don't. So it's cool to hear the behind the scenes of it as to why you wear them.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I kind of feel weird if I'm not wearing them now, but it's just as the years have gone on, I see more and more eaters wear them, and I think it's it's good because it's just easy. You're cleaned up, you're done, and okay, now let me go wash my face and this and that, and you can move on.
I gotta ask, how much do you spend in glove costs?
Well, so, I don't know. I don't spend that much. I'm very fortunate with my sponsors, with the restaurants and different people. They, at this point, I think they're buying me my gloves. They're purchased for me now. I'll stop in and, hey, can I get a box of gloves? When I'm picking up my sponsor stipend, or when I'm doing a food review for them, and they're more than happy to throw me a box of gloves here and there. So maybe over the last 10 years, maybe I've spent $100, but I more or less I don't pay for them anymore.
So before we wrap it up, I wanted to ask, but you kind of already answered it. Will you continue your competitive eating journey?
Oh, I'm not done. Yeah, no, I'm still, there's goals. I've always wanted to hit the 50 club with hot dogs. That is a goal, but I need to get into the 40 club first. And when I was, going strong into COVID in 2020, I was projecting myself to be in the 50 club, and it didn't happen. So if I get into the 40s, I'll be happy. But, I'm the red horse of death when it comes to Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest. So if I could just show up once a year and compete there, and I'll be happy, and just be able to work with more sponsors around the country and the world. This journey isn't over for me. It's just began.
And lastly, what is one thing you would like people to know about you?
That's a great question. I'm an easygoing guy. Don't hesitate to approach me at a contest or out in public. Come up and talk to me. I'm 6'6", 300 pounds. I got a 2-foot beard and a 6-pound dog in my pocket. I'm a pretty easygoing guy, as much as I look evil, right? So, yeah, I'm just a nice guy. Come up and say hi. Introduce yourself.
And that concludes our interview with the Smorgasbord. We'll have all of George's links in the description below. And thanks for listening, everyone, as always. And we'll see you in the next episode.